And again, I would ask the
Yes,
people
right.
testifying that we, thank you, that we not read the testimony. We have it. It will be made part of the record, but we would appreciate if you could summarize it so we could get to questions, and I think that would be the most important part of it. Thank you.
Start.
Start whenever you wish.
Good afternoon. My name is Teresa Arboleda, and I was a former school board member, a former CEC member, and now I'm the chair of the Citywide Council on English Language Learners as Carmen Faria. I'm also a former English language learner, although I was born and raised here, and my parents were also immigrants from Spain. I'm also the president of the chair of the Legislative Committee of the Education Council Consortium. It's a group that was formed, I believe, in early 2013, and it's comprised of members of the CECs and citywide councils. And we meet regularly with the chancellor, and we address issues that affect the schools and communities in all the boroughs. The ECC, we were made aware about mayoral control expiring, and we decided to form a committee and explore and discuss the ramifications and pros and cons about mayoral control. And after a lot of discussion, we developed a resolution and on May 23rd, 2015, before the last expiration. And the basic idea is that while we're not supportive of extending mayoral control, we do offer amendments in case it is renewed. And the ideal situation would have been to hold extensive hearings with parents in schools and to get different ideas, but I don't think that is happening. The issue of mayoral control cannot be about a particular mayor. It should be about the students. And any system of governance must have checks and balances. And we cannot have a new school system every time there's a new mayor. It's not about the mayor. It's important for the parents to know where to go when they have problems. And the best way to do that is to have local districts and local staff, local superintendents within the geographical area of where people live in the schools. When mayoral control was first implemented, the system was turned upside down. Parents didn't know what was happening. They didn't know what was going on. It was barely explained. That's why we are so concerned about the governance of a mayoral control, the system. It's not about the mayor. We cannot have a corporate structure. The next mayor may want to have a corporate structure like the previous mayor. We believe that students are not just data. They are people, and they're not to be passed around like chess pieces. I mean, the enrollment procedures that were in effect they were just numbers. Oh, this kid fits here, this kid fits here. No paying attention as to what that child's needs were. We can't fall into the trap of one size fits all. We believe the present administration has made positive changes, and these changes should be firmly established by the law so that we can maintain stability and not be thrown into turmoil again. Some of these changes that we like, these are not the only ones, but these are very important ones. The appointment of a chancellor who was an educator, the increased parental access to parents in the local geographic district. Sensitivity to the needs of English language learners. I can speak to that as the president of the council. They have expanded interpretation and translation services. There are more English classes for parents who don't speak English. And there's a less contentious process for co-locations. I'm a parent. I was on the CC in District 3 when all the co-locations so-called hearings were conducted, and I can tell you it was not fun. The resolution that you have before you, it reflects the wide opinions of the ECC members. But these are the most important points that we want to make. And we hope the legislator considers these amendments to the law. The law should provide for the appointment of the PEP members to fixed terms. This will allow the PEP members to vote independently and not be afraid that they will be removed for a vote. People who have been in the system for a while remember the Monday Night Massacre. I think you all know about it. A vote was scheduled, and there were X numbers on the panel, and then when we went to the meeting, they were gone and they were replaced. We cannot have a mayor with absolute power. They're not a dictator. Also, the public advocate has a report which agrees with this recommendation. She also recommends that parents representing English language learners, special ed, and a public advocate appointee also be added to the PEP as members. The method of electing parents to the CEC is not democratic. You only have 3 officers of the PTA or PA voting for members. Some people get on with just 1 vote. Not that they beat other people by 1 vote, by just 1 vote. They just get 1 vote and they get on. And that's very undemocratic. So I think we should have all the parents of the geographical district under the superintendent be able to vote, just the public school parents. Also, the role of the superintendent. It must be clearly defined that they're the educational leader of that district, of that geographical district. You cannot have network leaders who are in Manhattan traveling to Queens, Staten Island, the Bronx, whatever. So that is very important, because now the parents know that if they have a problem, it's in their local district. Half the time, the parents didn't know who the network leader was. Also, the law should be amended. I know right now they say the chancellor must be an educator and needs a waiver. We don't think there should be a waiver. The chancellor must be an educator. They know, only an educator knows what to do with the schools. And also the public advocate report also indicates that they favor this. Also, the 2-year terms that now are in the law, we believe strongly that they should be changed to 3 years, because a lot of parents don't know what's going on. They don't realize this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. And by the time they know what to do, there's another election. So I remember when I was on the school board, it was a 3-year term. So I just think that would be more feasible. Also, I as a English language learner advocate, when the councils, when the law was changed the last time for the councils to allow for a seat on each local district, and when the Citywide Council on English Language Learners was formed, it was very difficult to get parents, because according to the law, you needed to be an L parent. And most of them are not aware, if they're immigrants or they don't speak English, they're not aware of what they can do to participate, to engage. So a couple of years ago, we proposed a change in the law, and Danny O'Donnell, and it was co-sponsored by Senator Lanza. We changed the law that the parents be allowed to serve after they've been out 2 years, after they've received services. It's much better, but it's still not great. We believe that a parent who's been an L at any time, in other words, if the parent is in the 8th grade now, the kid is in the 8th grade and they want to go, or the 6th grade, and they were L's in the third grade and now they're not. We think that parents, I mean, I'm a grandma and I'm still interested in that issue, so I don't think they will lose, the desire to advocate for those parents because they're out of the system. They're out of the L services. And there are also issues on special ed that my colleague Ellen McHugh will address, and there are two different areas that she will address. And I will read this. Mayoral control cannot be made permanent and must be reviewed periodically. We cannot have the budget dance when mayoral control is included as a part of the budget. The governance policy where the mayor controls the New York City public schools must be thoroughly debated on its own. The over 1 million students in New York City public schools cannot be held hostage to whatever political winds are blowing at the time. As an entity with knowledge and experience with New York City public schools, the ECC is committed to working with the New York State Legislature to achieve the most equitable and fair governance system that will benefit the students in our public schools. And we can be contacted. We'd love to work with you.
You're sitting in front of the mic. Okay, you want us to change seats? Flexibility is the hallmark of parent cooperation. My name is Ellen McHugh. I currently serve as one of the public advocate appointees to the Citywide Council on Special Ed. A good deal of what Teresa has said is also what I would have said, although, and I thank you for the invitation, I'm really surprised I'm here unless it's to echo what Teresa is saying, which is a compliment, and I thank you for inviting us. One of the problems with mayoral control, as I see it now, is the issue of whimsy. On the whim of a mayor in the past, actions by the Citywide Council on Special Education were ignored. On the whim of a mayor now, actions by the Citywide Council on Special Education were accepted. One of the examples that we use in the testimony is CSIS, the Special Education Student Information System, which has managed to cost the city about $356 million in lost funding because a system that was supposed to be developed to provide adequate information to staff and updates to parents about how their children with IEPs were progressing is cumbersome at best, takes a great deal of time to input, and created a situation in some schools where if you plugged in the toaster, you couldn't get on CSIS. If you unplugged the toaster and plugged in the coffee machine, CSIS would blow up the coffee machine. So there wasn't a lot of infrastructure to support CSIS. Past administration refused to admit it. Current administration asked to work with us to say, what can we do? It's a benefit to us as parents to have that information. In this, it was whimsy. There wasn't any directive in the law that the mayor had to pay any attention to us. There was only the whim of one mayor to agree and another mayor to say, no, I'm not going to pay attention to it. I've got to read this because this recent report from the Center for American Progress finds that mayoral control school districts have improved district-wide performance relative to average school district performance statewide. Mayoral governance is most effective when the mayor is active on the issue of education. Mayors must be ready to engage stakeholders, leverage resources, and facilitate a positive policy environment to overcome barriers to school improvement. A city must adapt mayoral control to their unique local context. Variation in local cultures and politics must be considered. The idea of considering politics is something I think New York City and state engages in with great glee. Mayoral control may require reinvention, which I think is where we are right now, and in order to continue to show gains over time, mayors may need to revamp their strategies and practices as necessary. We are encouraging and hope that we can spend time in a civil public discourse that includes parents, CEC members, education experts and advocates, principals and teachers, students, and other stakeholders in the discussion. We must be deliberate in our conversations and respectful of opinions. This will take time, maybe 2 years, maybe more. I do believe that the constructive and civil public discourse can develop a system of school governance that is reflective of the needs of the students of New York City. One of the subsets of the resolution is an expansion of the Citywide Council on Special Education. This is CECSE, special education, wonk stuff. If I get boring, stop me. Prior to this, the CCSE was made up of only parents whose children were being served by a specific district, District 75, which is a construct that only exists here in New York City. It doesn't exist across the state. It doesn't exist in any other state that I know of, and I've asked. I would like to see the current CCSE expanded so that the District 75 parents would have, and the CCSE parents, would have one council to attend instead of having two. I think this is me, I think having two councils can dilute the power or the impact of either council. If we elect people across the boroughs to represent those special education programs that are district-based and those district programs that are District 75 place, we can create the commonality and we can create a model, hopefully, of cooperation. One of the problems that exists in this current school system is the division of, I don't know, administration, I guess is the best way to describe it, between District 75 principals and general ed principals, between District 75 staff and general ed staff. We have schools that are co-located that have different bells, different doors, different PD, different parent-teacher dates. It's just different. And I think in the long run, well, I know in the long run that research has shown that the integration of students with special needs into classrooms or buildings has created a positive effect for both the child with the general education need and the child with the IEP. And after all, you can't develop leaders if leaders have never seen or been with people who are not like them, because they are going to be representing individuals who are disabled as those individual students age up. My son is, for background, my son is deaf. He's 37, despite my youthful appearance, and he's married, thank God, to a girl from Colombia. They are both fully employed. It is also something that is a result of their public school education, because in the world of disability, less than 30% of the individuals who are disabled are employed, and of that number, only 33% are considered to be employed up to their ability. So most of them are underemployed, even though they've gone through college, high school, career and tech ed training, whatever. I hope that this has explained some of the reasons for the testimony we've offered, and if you have questions, we'd love to engage. I'd like to talk.
Okay. David.
Yeah. Just move around.
That's right, because I believe in order. Thank you. Good afternoon, Senator Marcelino and members of the Senate Education Committee. My name is Mona Davids. I am a public school parent, and I am also the founder and president of the New York City Parents Union. We were founded in 2011. For those that are watching that may not know of our organization, we are proud to say we are on board and unbossed, and we're a grassroots organization of parent volunteers who assist other parents in navigating the school system and ensuring that their children receive equal access to a high-quality education. It's funny being back in this room, Senator Marcelino. A few years ago, actually, in I think it was 2010, was it 2010, Senator Perkins, for the charter school hearings? Yes. In 2010, I attended a hearing. I was then the founder and the president of the New York Charter Parents Association. And many of the charter school reforms, including the request for that hearing, was made by me to Senator Perkins. And that was a brutal fight, but it was about ensuring
Senator
that...
Perkins isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, it was a
I
brutal...
lost the fight.
It was, I don't think we lost the fight. We were successful in getting quite a number of reforms, which the charter lobby has embraced. And one of the things that also helped the district schools, just to talk about that for 1 second, is that we were able to make sure that district schools receive matching funds when charters renovate and they're co-located in a public school building. We were also able to put into the legislation that they serve a fair share. So, you know, I believe it was successful. No system is perfect. The district school system is certainly not perfect, and neither is a very young system like the charter system. In addition to that, the New York City Parents Union has been involved in quite a bit of litigation. Some of the litigation that we are involved with currently is what many call the teacher tenure lawsuit. That's called Davids versus New York. I am Davids, filed in Richmond County. I am here with 2 other plaintiffs in the Davids versus New York lawsuit, and our members, Sam Pirizzolo and Jacqueline Carlson over there. In addition to that lawsuit, other lawsuits that we've been involved with was a few years ago when New York City, Mike and Mike couldn't come together on the teacher evaluation plan, and Cuomo decided to punish our children with the $250 million penalty. I, Jacqueline, Sam, and other parents, with the support of Mike Rebell, we successfully filed and got that injunction stopping Cuomo from punishing our children because the adults couldn't get along. That being said, we've been involved in other lawsuits, whether it's in Bloom, co-locations. If you look up when it comes to school litigation lawsuits, you'll either see my name or the New York City parents' name and our parent members' names. Sorry. So I'm going to talk about our recommendations. We support the concept of mayoral control. Unfortunately, mayoral control under Mayor de Blasio is not working. And we are recommending from you, if you do renew it, you only renew it for 1 year. And that steps be taken to provide some kind of checks and balances. You've heard what the other parent advocates have said. The way it's structured now, it's a dictatorship. And a dictatorship leads to abuse. And that is what's going on in our school system, and I will elaborate further when I speak about the problems. We strongly believe in accountability when it comes to our school system. Unfortunately, mayoral control at this juncture is not about accountability. It's about whatever Mayor de Blasio, Chancellor Farina, and the United Federation of Teachers, which I call de Blasio Inc., wants. With the political support of the United Federation of Teachers, Chancellor Farina and Michael Mulgrew, in our opinion, have reversed some positive gains, especially contractual gains, that we had under Mayor Bloomberg. Now, people in this room will know I am not a Mayor Bloomberg fan, nor was I a Klein or Walcott fan. But one thing we knew was that despite all of our disagreements, Bloomberg, too, was unboard and unbossed. And Bloomberg, no matter what, was going to do what was in the best interest of our children. How we got there was another story. That being said, you have my testimony. That's not what's happening now. This is what we recommend to deal with de Blasio Inc., to hopefully continue to have a strong mayoral control system that respects parents, that ensures that every child receives equal access to a high-quality education, and also complies with the law. The 6 things I'm going to speak about very briefly is, number 1, the credit recovery scheme and the free diplomas. You showed up, everybody showed up. If this was a New York City high school, we'd all get free diplomas because of the credit recovery scheme. Everybody gets a diploma. The New York Post has highlighted so many stories reported by teachers, not by parents, not at first by students, by teachers who are reporting that we are feeling pressure. We are forced to do a cover-up. Even though these kids don't attend school, do no schoolwork, do no homework, do not sit for exams, we have to pass them. That is a problem, because that is all part of de Blasio Inc.'s agenda in being the progressive messiah, as we call him, and to ensure that the public thinks he's doing a great job in our schools, which, as you hear from other parent advocates, that's not the case. The second thing, what we call the Union Job Protection Scheme, also known as renewal schools. The renewal schools are a failure. In the renewal schools, we have credit recovery. We continue to have students who are pushed out, graduating, going to City University of New York or any other college and forced to take remedial classes. I don't exactly have the numbers, but probably somebody like Lainey or someone here would know exactly how much our per pupil funding is for New York City public students, general education students. What is it, about $16,000 a year? Why is it that our children are in this school system, this school district, this state, where the highest amount is spent on education, and our children are forced to go into debt so that they can take these remedial courses after getting their free diplomas? The next thing is school safety. There has been a surge, an explosion of weapons including loaded guns in our schools, machetes in our schools, and other weapons. And instead of addressing that problem, de Blasio Inc., UFT, Farina, and Mayor de Blasio, because they're all one and the same, de Blasio Inc. covers it up. Not only do they put the safety of our children in jeopardy, they have the audacity to lie to parents and say, oh, no, our schools are safe. Well, the last time I checked, there are no guns being found in City Hall. There are no guns being found at one police plaza, except for the guns that the police officers are required to wear. And there certainly are no guns found at the Department of Education. But all 3 of those places, one police plaza, City Hall, and Tweed, all have metal detectors. So if you have metal detectors to protect yourself, and there aren't guns and loaded weapons and machetes being found every day, why can't we have that for our children in the public school system? Because Mayor de Blasio Inc. doesn't want the public to know about this surge in weapons. The other issue is Mayor de Blasio has also decided unilaterally, without engaging parents, to change the school suspension policy and the discipline policy. So pretty much what that means, we call it the kumbaya approach. Oh, okay, you picked up a chair and you hit a student with the chair. That's okay, just don't do it next time. Oh, you punched a student, so you spat on a teacher. Oh, that's okay, don't do it next time. We'll send you home with a note to your mom just letting them know what you did, but don't do it next time. And because of this ridiculous suspension policy that's in place, it's resulted in a lot of assaults of students and an increased amount of bullying in the schools. And when parents go to the DOE, when they call 311, when they call the superintendent, when they speak to the principal, they're given the runaround because the principals can no longer suspend students under the Kumbaya policy. They have to get permission of the superintendent. The superintendent cannot suspend the students either because she has to get permission of Farina. Farina and de Blasio Inc. are not suspending students because they want to continue to mislead the public that the schools are safe so that they could cover up that these new policies of theirs that they put forth without parents' consultation or engagement is working. Parents' intimidation and retaliation. This is what happens when you have a dictatorship, when you have an abusive dictatorship. I think probably Lainey may talk about this as well, and other people have spoken about the PEP, the Panel for Educational Policy. We call it the rubber stamp. We called it the rubber stamp when Bloomberg was there, and we're calling it an even bigger rubber stamp now. One of the members, the Bronx PEP member, brought up the fact that the DOE is not complying with state education law in disclosing all of the information about the contracts, posting the contracts online as they're required to do so that the public can see and folks can do their investigation. And then when PEP members, such as Mr. Powell, started asking, well, okay, I see something on the agenda about ABC contract. Nobody sent me ABC contract. I'm on the contract committee. What's going on? Guess what? Instead of answering the man's questions, who is there supposed to represent the parents and the community and the public and to ensure that there's no financial mismanagement or chicanery or bad deals? Parents like him and many other parents throughout the school system on every level are isolated. They're then intimidated by DOE, by their principals, by their superintendents, and it's gotten to the point where it's a regular occurrence where if you speak out or if you ask any question, all of a sudden you'll have a knock on your door that night or the next night and it'll be ACS, because that's what they're doing to intimidate the parents. And you need to think about that because this really impacts parents. It's unconscionable to do that to any parent who's simply seeking accountability or asking questions about the education their children are receiving or other problems in the school. The other intimidation tactic that they use, de Blasio Inc., de Blasio, UFT, and Farina, is that they are now calling the police on parents. So if a parent who they think is a problem parent because the parent asks questions, or in the case of the Brooklyn father, the parent wanted to know why that teacher kept on letting his son soil himself and sit for the whole day in his own excrement. For that parent to ask that teacher a question, they were rewarded with being arrested in front of their child, in front of the school, because that's what they do. Not just him, he's not the only one. We have other parents. It's one of their #1 tactics. So once that arrest has happened at the school, the parent can no longer enter the school building. The parent cannot be involved in their child's education. It's not one case, it's not 2 cases, not 3, it's not 4. This is a serious problem. And then when you dig deeper, these parents, all of them have questioned either the governance of the school system or the running of the school, or brought up situations and demanded answers about why the kids in their schools are failing. So we have a problem here, and parents have no recourse. We have nobody to turn to. because once a year or every few years when mayoral control may be renewed, you have this hearing, but what happens in the meantime? When a parent is arrested at the school, who's going to take the child home? Who's going to take care of the child? But this is what's happening in our schools, and this is a real problem.
Before you go on, the number about state aid per pupil, the best we could come up with is the state puts in about $9,100 per pupil. The city of New York has its own number and a contribution to that. They add to that, but it varies from district to district and school to school, so we do not have a solid number that we can give you at this point in time relative to the city contribution and what the total amount combined in the two, because it's going to be different from place to place. We probably could work that out over time, but we don't have a lot of time right now.
Thank you, sir. The other problem with mayoral control, we have Mayor de Blasio. Before we had Public Advocate de Blasio. Public Advocate de Blasio believed in transparency. Public Advocate de Blasio demanded of the Bloomberg administration that they answer FOILs in a timely fashion. Public Advocate de Blasio made so many pronouncements about how he was going to be transparent. But there's no transparency within the Department of Education. Right now, I know I do. I know probably quite a number of reporters here and probably a number of parent advocates on both sides are waiting on FOILs. Our Freedom of Information requests are hardly ever answered. I'm waiting on FOILs that are over a year old. I'm sure other people are waiting on FOILs that are just, as old. And what happens is we continue getting these, timely letters saying that we need more time, we need more time, we need more time, because they know we parents and we parent advocates don't have the resources now to go and get an attorney to file a lawsuit to compel them to comply with the Freedom of Information law. It's another abuse under mayoral control. The compliance when it comes to open meetings law. I'm sure Lainey Hameson from Class Size Matters is going to speak about it, and I have it in briefly talking about it in my testimony. But to summarize, Mayor de Blasio and de Blasio Inc. have decided that they're going to close school leadership team meetings, that they're now private because they don't want the community and the public, and this is an administration that says, we're open, everybody's welcome, we want everyone to be involved, but they've closed school leadership team meetings, forcing parents, parent advocates, advocacy groups, and the public advocate to file a lawsuit to try to force them to actually follow your law. Even though the judge agreed with Class Size Matters and public advocate James, de Blasio Inc., Farina, de Blasio, and UFT are still not opening the meetings and complying with the law until they complete their appeal. Since they were so successful at closing SLT meetings, they've now decided that they're going to close parent association and parent teacher association meetings. So now they're doing the same thing. Oh, well, we don't care. It's a PA meeting. It's not open to the public. Well, yes, it is open to the public. We've had Robin Freeman, who you know from the Committee on Open Government. He's done an opinion on it. It's in the law, but de Blasio Inc. doesn't have to comply with it, because what can we do, what can reporters do, and what can you do? Our recommendations to close. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Number 7, before I close. As I mentioned earlier, when it comes to charter schools, I firmly believe in holding them accountable. When it comes to our children, I firmly believe that we must do always what is in the best interest of the children. And I believe in school choice, because I don't see why anyone must be forced to send their child to a burning building. But I do agree, sometimes you don't know that, the other building has structural problems too. That being said, Mayor de Blasio and de Blasio Inc. are carrying out a vendetta. With the Parents Union, we go up against the education reform lobby. We go up against what we call the status quo, the unions, because no matter what, if you look at our history and what we've done, we're about what's in the best interest of all children. The Charter Schools Act governs charter schools. I'm a firm believer in following the law. Charter schools are autonomous. Charter schools are their own districts. They're their own LEA. De Blasio Inc., because of mayoral control that you have given him, is carrying out a personal vendetta against Eva Moskowitz. And everybody in this room that knows me know I don't always agree with Eva. As a matter of fact, I think I've been on just about every co-location lawsuit fighting Eva before the law was changed. The charter rent lawsuit, I was on it, Parents Union was on it, and other parents in this room. But it's always about what's in the best interest of the children. Withholding the $750,000, illegally withholding the $750,000 for those students, those Black and Latino students in Success Academy, is not fair. It's an attack on those families, it's an attack on those children, and it's just to get even with a personal vendetta. There is no justification for withholding that pre-K money. That money came from you, it came from the governor, it came from the state budget. Charters are their own LEA. Just because the city disburses the funds to CBOs and to their district schools under their authority doesn't mean mayoral control gives Mayor de Blasio and de Blasio Inc. the right to do a vendetta against one woman, but punishing thousands of students. And I'm going to read this. In closing, allow me to note that all of us have been learning about the true meaning of mayoral control as we watch a second mayor utilize it. Our challenge is to fashion an education governance system that can work well with and for any mayor and all parents and students. We have yet to achieve this. In my testimony, I have solid recommendations on an independent oversight board that consists of parents and community stakeholders. I have step-by-step what we're seeking, metrics to be made, milestones, quarterly meetings with this legislative board with the DOE, so that when situations like what I've just shared with you that is going on with parents in the school system, you can bring that up at those quarterly meetings with whoever the mayor is and whoever his chancellor is. Mayoral control is supposed to be there to serve the needs of the children, to educate the children, to make sure that someone is held accountable. Right now, mayoral control is not working. So we may support the concept, but we certainly do not support de Blasio Inc. Thank you.
Thank you very much.